live to Tip Thursdays. I'm Alfyn, if you don't know, and you're just watching for the first time. I'm your local real estate professional here in Reno and Sparks. And then I have here with me, of course, the very knowledgeable Jeremiah. Jeremiah, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, hello. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, my name is Jeremiah. I'm a loan officer with Guild Mortgage, and we're going to talk about all sorts of loans, I believe.
Yes. I know people are starting the journey because I work with a lot of first time home buyers. They don't know the differences, and it's okay. That's why Jeremiah is there. But we want to just educate and just kind of, point out, some of the differences. What is FHA, conventional, and VA? That way you can kind of get an idea what options are out there for you. So, Jeremiah, like, okay, let's say I talked about, I mentioned first time home buyers. What are first time home buyers typically approved for?
So I mean, I would say, right? So when we look at the four major loans, right, there's the VA loan, there is a conventional loan, there's the FHA, and a lot of people believe that FHA stands for first time home buyer or something like that, and it does not. It just stands for the Federal Housing Agency. And then USDA is for the middle of nowhere. And it's like very hard to qualify for, but it is a great loan. The only loans that don't have a down payment are the VA and USDA. But most of the time, first time buyers, and if we're not looking at like perfect credit, right? Like 780, right? If we're sitting in the 600s, and if we're looking at debt to income and that kind of thing, if we've got car loans and student loans and credit cards and all these things, right? Like most people do, then usually FHA is a better product only because it's going to be cheaper for you than a conventional loan at a 600 something credit score.
Okay. And then, so typically, first time home buyers, FHA. And then let's say, you know, y- you have great credit and you have money to put down. What
Most of the
loan
time
would
we'd
fit
go
you?
conventional.
How much is down payment for a conventional loan?
So this is where a lot of people will say, is being a first-time home buyer like a really big benefit? And it is and it isn't at the same time because the only real major impact you'll see as being a first-time home buyer, and I'll define what that means, is on a conventional loan, you can come in with a 3% down payment instead of 5% down. Most of the time, people, in terms of the minimum for conventional, is 5%.
What makes it five?
If you have not, or excuse me, if you are not considered a first time home buyer, which is defined
Mm,
as, it's really crazy. So the loans look at this like if you've owned a home in the last 3 years or you currently own any type of real estate, then you are
mm-hmm.
not considered a
A
first
first
time
timer.
buyer. Mhm.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, and then I know by talking to some veterans, they're not too much, they don't know much about their VA loan benefits. Could you point out like a couple of the VA loan benefits, why to utilize it, and why you should talk to a real estate professional? Because you could be missing out on thousands of dollars, if you don't use your VA loan.
Yeah, the VA loan is a great benefit if you qualified for it. And the reason is number one, you don't have a down payment on a VA loan. You only need a 580 credit score to qualify most of the time. Technically, if it's a little bit lower than that, there are some things you can do. It also has no mortgage insurance, right? So every other loan besides USDA, so conventional and FHA, all have mortgage insurance unless you come in with a bigger down payment on conventional. So on a VA loan, you're just paying your principal, your interest, and then your taxes and insurance, which is a huge benefit. So you don't need a down. And the rates are usually a little bit better than they are conventional as well. So you might get a better interest rate. You might not have to come in with a down payment, right? And also, two, as a real estate professional, you need the advocacy of a real estate agent to help ensure that the actual closing costs get paid. Because we always forget that there's closing costs, and that's like your appraisal, your taxes, your insurance, the county fees, like all those things that go into the deal, your inspections. But you don't need a down payment. But those are costs you can still incur, of course, when you're getting a mortgage, and having a real estate agent talk through how we can get those covered is great.
Yes, and then also I wanted to bring this up because I'm realizing a lot of veterans don't know what comes with it, right? And I
Mhm.
spoke with one not long ago, and he was like, "Well, I already kind of know what my benefits are. I'm going to go buy this home um from, from a friend of mine." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, no problem. Well, let's just go over some of the benefits. Just make sure like, do you know, aside from no down payment, there are going to be some closing costs involved. Are you prepared for that?" And he was like, "What do you mean, closing costs?" And I was like, "Well, typically closing costs can run you about 2.5%." And he was like, "What?" So, prior to meeting him, I felt like he's done his research, Google or whatnot. And he's like, "I got this. I can buy a home by myself and buy it off my friend that's doing a for sale by owner." And I was like, "Okay, no worries. I want to support you in this. But I will also want to make sure you know some of your benefits and see if I can even if you don't pick me, you can save some money." So we mentioned about closing costs. And then I said, "Okay, well, do you know the next step of purchasing and stuff like that?" And he's like, I have an idea." I'm like, "Okay, well, do you have any debts that you can pay off?" So, with a VA loan, right? You can pay off some debts.
Yeah, so people don't know this. On a VA loan, technically, the seller credit, if you get one, can go towards your closing costs and or debt payoff for the veteran. That is the only loan that you can do that on, because normally a seller can't pay off a buyer's debt, but they do allow it on VA.
Yes. So he said, "Yeah, I have about $10,000 debt." And I'm like, "Okay, well, are you aware that you can go up to 4% seller credit? That could save you money from closing costs, payment, and we can help you pay off your credit card debt." And he was like, "No."
Yeah.
So from not needing a real estate professional to like, "Hey, I would like to work with you." I thought I knew my benefits, but I guess not. And so
Mhm.
that was kind of like a spark of, you know what, maybe I do need some guidance. So that's how the conversation kind of first went. So I was like, okay, I wasn't even trying to get him really. If anything, I was more like, let me just help you. Let me just see if, if it's a fit, it's a fit. If it's not, you got it, that's fine. But
Yeah.
I'm also realizing not a lot of people know their full benefits and what they can do with their VA loan and how they could save money. So if you're a VA, or a first time home buyer, VA, or first time home buyer, you can be any of those categories. Just talk to a real estate professional. Don't try to lean on Google alone because you never know what's out there.
Well, yeah, we have to remember that the internet is not your lender. Like Google is not
Yes.
giving you money, right? So like you have to talk to the people that actually know what's going on. And there are things that I Google as a lender that I don't know all the time, and I do get wrong information online. You know what I mean? So like I think it's
Yeah.
really important that you work with a professional on both sides so you know what's going on.
Yeah. And with the VA, just to touch it a little bit more, there's more to it as well that you can get with it. And a lot of people think you can only use a VA loan once, right? But you can keep going. But,
Yeah.
those are some things that you can definitely learn and know. Just have the good team right behind you, and I'll be able to, guide you to Jeremiah, and he'll be able to, you know, get you all those details.
Well, yeah,
So,
it's good to know. You touched on one thing that I think is important. You can have more than one VA loan open. We have one guy with four right now. He has four VA loans because he's had them for many years over the years, right? So you can do it. I mean, is it the best? I don't know, but you can do it. It's great.
yeah. 100%, because I'm also like kind of talking to another veteran, and he thinks he needs to have the perfect credit and all this stuff, and I'm like, no, just get into a home, start building your equity, and like move, because the house pricing is not going to wait for you. So, I feel like a lot of veterans out there are missing on some opportunities to just go. If you're already planning, just plan sooner, because the market's not stopping. So yeah. Other than
Exactly.
that, do you have any other final thoughts?
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is you don't have to have perfect credit, as we know, but VA considers top tier. Like it does not get better after 620. So if you're worried that you need a 640, a 660, whatever it is, you only need a
800.
620. Yeah, 620 and you're in.
OMG. Yes, we need to talk a little bit more, because I feel like that's a myth a lot of veterans are waiting
Um,
for to get into the 700s. But like you said, you just said 620. So
It wouldn't
all
make a
these
difference.
veterans, yeah. Perfect. Well, other than that, follow us on Instagram, Facebook. Follow Jeremiah on TikTok. Oh my gosh. His puppy is cute.
Thank
He's
you. I know I
viral.
need to post more. Yeah, make him go viral, please, so I can retire.
Retired dog dad.
Yeah, that'd be nice. But no, 620, that's it. That's all you need is a 580 to a 620.
There you go. So if you or anybody you know that's a veteran that'd like to know more about your VA loan benefits, definitely comment below and we'll be able to answer that for you.